Viant's been around for a long time, more than 2 decades, attacking this digital advertising industry. And so certainly a very exciting year to take the company public after such a long journey to get there, and now have many more resources to continue building towards this ultimate vision. But Viant today offers Adelphic, a people-based DSP for marketers to use that's very different than most of our competition in the industry, which is relying on cookies.
So explain what you guys use then, how that, what your solution is.
Yeah. What makes Viant different is our focus on a household ID. And when we say people-based DSP, it's really important to unpack what that actually is. When you think of the programmatic ecosystem, there's three constituents. You have the DSP who connects to an SSP. So DSP is the buy side, SSP is the sell side. And there's a third company in the middle that supplies data or audience targeting data that marketers regularly use. The old way that we tied all that ecosystem together was through a cookie sync or using third-party cookies. The new way is people-based. And let me explain what that is. When we say people-based, what we're describing is the way the DSP connects to the data company. And we do this instead of matching on a cookie ID, which is no longer available. We match on personal identifiers. So name, address, phone, and email address are the common personal identifiers. At Adelphic, we've integrated these 70 companies using these people-based identifiers, so audience segment data can flow back and forth the same way it did with a cookie. But what's also different is when the inventory comes through with no cookie attached to it, it's hard to know who to bid and buy. And this is where Viant took a very unique approach around the patents that we have of what we call household ID. Our household ID keys off of the only digital identifier that's remaining, which is the IP address. And we look to find in the United States of 1.5 billion IP addresses that are registered year, which are the 150 million are homes. And when we key off of that digital identifier of IP address, it's no longer relying on big tech. Apple and Google can't take it away because the IP is focused and controlled at the internet service provider level, not by the big tech that we compete with every day.
So tell us about the media that you guys buy through the platform. Is it video? Is it display? Give us some.
Yeah, Adelphic is an omni-channel people-based DSP. We're primarily known for connected television because it's naturally a cookieless environment. All of the challenges that the mobile and desktop or cookie-based competitors are dealing with, we've really solved, and we excel in connected television. But we offer mobile, desktop, digital out of home. You can also plan and buy linear television inside of Adelphic as well. And the big payoff for when you choose a people-based DSP versus a cookie-based DSP is in measurement. Today, cookie-based players have done a good job at tracking e-commerce activity. I show an ad to a laptop, they later came to my website and purchased. With a cookie that did a great job of closing the loop on the e-commerce transaction. When you move to a people-based DSP, this is an upgrade to your infrastructure. You not only can track and attribute acquisitions that are conversions that happen on your website, but we're able to pull in-store sales as well. Because again, a cookie doesn't walk in a store and purchase the product, a person does. And when you have the customer data and the sales receipts, you can pull in the in-store sales transactions of the customers who bought in store. You can look at the customer data who bought online and match it up. And a people-based DSP gives a more holistic view to the marketer on their total revenue and which advertising drove it, whether it happened in store or online. So think of people-based as a huge upgrade if you're a marketer, being able to include the in-store revenue and attribute which advertising drove that.
Tim, tell us a little bit about the buy side. In other words, the demand that's coming to you guys through marketers, through agencies. What are their expectations and what does that demand side look like?
Everybody wants the same thing. They want to know what they're getting for their money. They're not looking to create a dossier on consumers that some of the big tech guys are scaring people with. They really just want to spend money in a targeted fashion and understand what was the return on ad spend they receive. And our software platform in a people-based DSP does that really well. So the biggest overarching thing they want, measurement, ROAS, return on ad spend across all channels that they're actually executing against. Once they get a good baseline understanding, okay, now how can I improve those benchmarks through better use of data and data-driven decision making? And our focus on the household ID and people-based data integrations allowed them to work with 70 data companies, 280,000 audience segments that we have mapped to all of these identifiers that we have. So it's just a full cookieless environment, targeting and measurement. That's what Adelphic and the people-based DSP does so well.
And Tim, what's your take on this whole announcement from Google about browsing history cookies, the impact on our industry? What are some of your thoughts?
Well, it certainly wasn't, it's not like this was a shock that they came out and announced this. They had already indicated they were, the double-click ID had already been pulled a year, maybe 2 years before. So all things were leading that cookies were going away. And when it comes to Viant, we launched this company in 2015 based as a people-based programmatic platform, saying that cookies were going away. So this has long been expected, but the cookie needed to go away. If you really think about ad tech, it's always been a cousin of MarTech in the enterprise software stack. But now when we finally rid ourselves of this ID that means nothing, an anonymous identifier that means nothing and ties to almost nothing, and we move to people-based identifiers, the data in people-based looks more similar to the enterprise software stack, like a CRM company, Salesforce.com, Oracle. The data inside there is people-based in its nature. And you've seen MarTech companies acquire ad tech companies and it never quite worked out. It's because ad tech was always built on a cookie ID. So I'm excited that the cookie's gone. We moved to the people-based infrastructure. And I think what you'll see is ad tech fits nicely in the enterprise software stack, right next to MarTech, right next to every other cloud-based platform that they're buying to transition their own back office. Advertising is finally arriving because we've rid ourselves of this anonymous cookie ID and now put ourselves on real consumer data so we can attach ourselves in the enterprise software stack.